making a motion at the
Well, it's whatever you're gonna be doing in class. Try to, it's just a practice run. Should not get stressed out over it. Just practice run.
Yeah,
What you're gonna be doing.
yeah, because I was wondering.
They can't handle my prettiness.
Go ahead, that's fine, it'll be screwing the video.
Okay.
I don't like a girl.
And so, once
I don't like
we
that.
did the part
I don't like that.
whatnot,
Sort of like a
it's
girl.
just and send whatever we,
Oh, dude.
Maybe email to yourself.
Thank you for coming to today's weather briefing.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Give me some weather maps. I'll tell you. Who's Charlie?
What's that?
Who's Charlie?
Charles Ross?
Yeah.
He's a hydrologist for forecast. Yeah.
Oh,
So he works out of the weather.
yeah. He works. Okay. Yeah, because doesn't this local office class of my life there combined with
Hey, good, how are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm on.
I think we're gonna hit 58. Kyle's gonna be, Kyle's already done.
Kyle's not gonna longer.
Right. Well, he's already lost. I don't care who gets it.
Yes.
He was a little too old.
Boom.
Hey, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, loads of stuff.
Yeah, Brittany, we can pull up. These guys are all set with this, right?
Sorry,
Here.
I forgot to screen share.
Okay.
Hey, there you go.
Thank you. Let's see. What's the best browser to use?
Probably Firefox. They have stuff running in Chrome. Firefox seems to be alright.
All right.
Most of the time.
How are you?
Is it coming up?
Let's see. Maybe I got
Oh,
it.
maybe.
Says it is.
Alright.
It'll get up. It'll,
It's an old laptop.
yeah. Stalling updates.
Not supposed to stress you out.
I'm going in now.
And you're not stressed out, right? You're not.
I haven't even finished what I'm doing. I've recorded for the way. One third. That'd be similar.
Or they preserve it in an hour long.
Yeah, I did even this, which is why I'm not. Technically, I have to.
What time does it start? 30 after?
Yeah, this does, but we can always wait.
Yeah, I shouldn't take it. I mean, once it loads up.
Maybe click on it again? Not sure. We can use Chrome if we have to.
Okay. Yeah, it should.
Can you share the link?
Yeah, let's just try using Chrome, I guess. We'll open up a new window. They have a couple of windows open.
Okay.
Go up.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Let's see.
Ryan, how nice was it out there?
It was pretty nice. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, too bad.
There's
Now it's
Firefox.
there. Thanks. Yeah, it felt good. It's 61 now.
To make Saturday feel all about that. To make Saturday just feel so much colder.
Well, luckily, where are you from?
I just emailed my friends. Don't necessarily. I get home.
What does he?
My lap said that out loud.
I saw them walking out the door.
You're going home.
They went over like 5 minutes.
Oh, so they were playing.
They were going
Oh, okay. Neither.
This is like kind of your.
Well, they can't get outside. LFA.
See.
I recruited someone.
Oh,
But I screwed up. So, good job on the list.
Oh, thank you.
Everything.
All right, so I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Starting out, it's kind of
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. No, that's great. That's
So I've been
useful
doing
to us,
this to the
too.
state a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of show what.
right. Because it's I didn't realize it's like drier than normal, I guess. Maybe. Well, normal.
Maybe there's certain, yeah, I'll kind of cover.
Okay.
I'll cover those ingredients.
Yeah. No, that sounds great.
Okay, good. So I just brought my updated.
No, that's
I
perfect.
do it for the state.
That's awesome. That's great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you guys might want to shoot it.
Yeah.
Or like the spring drought.
Or flood outlet.
Flood outlet.
Yeah. I don't do drought outlets.
Right, yeah.
We'll keep that up somewhere interesting.
What was it? The
Spring flood outlet.
Sure.
You
You didn't tell me.
It's been with me all day. It's been with me for the past 2 days.
Wait. Oh, there is a part there.
And they got some more.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the one there.
I don't want to get in the way of your homework.
Is everybody good?
Yeah, we're just putting up the.
We can wait a couple of minutes.
No, we're good to start.
See if more people show up. I think there's. Oh.
No.
You don't like to shuffle your feet
Because,
because it's your seat.
I'm working on NC State's.
Alrighty, everybody, I think we'll get started. I'm sure a couple more people will trickle in. This week we have Charles Ross, who's here from the Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center, which, if you don't know, is based out of the Weather Service office in Innovation Park. And he's going to talk a little bit about the spring flood outlook and then give a quick overview of what we're going to see over the next couple of days. So, thank you, Charles.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'm actually out of the Weather Service, but I work with the River Forecast.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we kind of, but I am a State College National Weather Service employee. According to that. But just to clarify,
Didn't know that.
I'm called the service hydrologist, so I go out and meet with the state, the counties, different entities across the region on all of our flood and water issues with the Weather Service and the communities. So day to day, I'm looking at river levels and monitoring hydrology conditions. It's a big part of my job, but Penn State graduate and came through this area. It was a lot different when I was here, obviously, but I'm a meteorologist by trade, so maybe I can talk a little about the weather today. We'll see how it goes. So quickly, we're just start out the talk. Yeah, we're going to be. I'll talk about this cold front coming through here and in a few minutes. But I figured I'd talk to you a little bit about what we go through when we talk about a spring flood outlook. And this is a slideshow that I generally give the state emergency operations center at least once a week and update them. But I'll kind of quickly go through this and talk to you a little bit about what we look at to determine our outlook. So when we're talking about flooding in the spring across the Mid-Atlantic all the way through the Northeast United States, we have several ingredients we look at. Of course, recent rainfall is a big driver for flooding, so that's number one. Our snowpack and snow conditions is another issue. We look at river ice. That appears to have peaked across Pennsylvania. It's still an issue up in New York State, but that's a big early spring flooding condition. Stream flow conditions, where are they at when rainfall starts? That's a big factor. Soil moisture conditions, this becomes even more important once we get closer to green up. So not as big yet, but in the next month, the soil moisture, we'll be watching that closely. Groundwater, I'll speak to that here in a few minutes. Reservoir conditions, and of course future weather, which I'll talk to at the end. So rainfall, we've had over the last week, we've had a little bit more. Our deficits over the last 30, 60, 90 days have increased a little bit. We're getting weather systems, but they're not extremely wet. So hopefully we'll get that one big 1 to 2 inch rainfall across the basin here. That's what we really need. We haven't seen it. And if anybody wants a copy of this slide, let me know. I'll be happy to give it to them. I put some links on there for our users. But here's the last 30 days. I wasn't able to get this updated today, but it hasn't changed too much in the last couple of days. It's probably even gotten a little drier. But if you look across Pennsylvania, you'll see our deficits over the last 30 days. It really depends on where you are in the state. Across the southern tier, the Mason-Dixon line, it's been closer to, or maybe even slightly above average. But as you go north, up into the New York PA border, we've seen dry conditions over the last 30 days, and the dryness actually gets magnified a little bit as you go out 90 days. Most of the state has been well below average for precipitation over the last 3 months. And when you go out for about the last 6 months, again, it continues. Our best precipitation areas has been across southeast PA and a little bit into southwest Pennsylvania. But for the most part, we're experiencing some long-term dryness. It'd probably be safe to say we're close to a meteorological drought right now. So that's something to consider. Dry conditions doesn't bode well for spring flooding, so chalk that as a negative. But I'll show you some other things here that will that can offset that. So snow conditions. Snow coverage, as we know, it's continued to decrease. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a pretty good snowpack here in Center County. It's all shifted north. We still have a pretty decent snowpack, though, in our headwaters of the Susquehanna, Delaware, West Branch basins that will still have to be melted here in the next couple weeks. So there is some snow conditions that are still, I would say, concerning a little bit. So if you look at the snow depths across Pennsylvania this morning, really except for the far northeast PA and a few areas over the Allegheny Highlands and north central Pennsylvania, most of the snow is now retreated into New York State. Again, you go into the mountains and the shaded areas, you'll still see a snowpack, but for the most part, our snow is continuing to move north. But for Pennsylvania, you still have to look in New York State because all the headwaters of the Delaware and the Susquehanna basins are up, in New York State. So we still look north of the border. This is going to be hard to tell, but we like to see how much water is in the snowpack. And so this image is, I'll look at this every day to see what it's doing. And again, this is a model. It's probably a little overdone in some spots, but it's still showing several inches of water, snow water equivalent that has to be melted out and will be moving through the soils and into the streams shortly. Here's some actual observed conditions, and so you'll look in the Binghamton and north of Binghamton, they still have 2 to upwards of 4 inches of water in the pack, which is going to come down the main stem of the Susquehanna. Whoops, let's go back. All right, so then if you look some of the headwaters of parts of the Allegheny as well, there's still a couple more inches of snow that has to be melted out. Now the model that's in the River Forecast Center snow model right now by basin, you'll see, if you go up to the headwaters, you'll see they have a good 2 to 3, upwards of over 4 inches. Again, all that will be coming down the Susquehanna River and Delaware Rivers in the next few weeks. And so this is something that we look at to see. And really the model, once you get below an inch, it's pretty negligible in the model. So we've really lost most of our snow locally. Ice conditions, as I spoke to earlier, we had some significant concerns a couple weeks ago with all the river ice that we had on all of the small streams all the way up to the West Branch and main stem of the Susquehanna. Pennsylvania, we are ending our ice program on Friday, so our ice observers are, I guess, they're done for the season. And but as you go north of the border, there's still there's still ice up there, and their observers are still reporting some pretty significant ice cover up there. So that may make its way down into Pennsylvania, but really it should not be too much of an issue here. It's more of an issue north of the border. So ice conditions are improving, and that we're pretty much done with for the season. Stream flows, they've come up quite a bit with the recent snow melt and some of the rain that we've had, all except for northeast Pennsylvania, but those will be coming up shortly, and I'll show you a slide down here in a couple minutes. But for the most part, stream flows are getting closer to average. Here's what we're looking at. This is from the United States Geologic Survey. They put this out every day. And you can see most of the areas in the green, the normal flow range. If you look across northeast Pennsylvania, they are still pretty low with some of the, they really haven't gotten the snow melt and flows through there yet. They had a little bit of a stream flow rise last week, but it's come back down again this week, but that will change with the rain. Soil moisture conditions, we'll look at this a little bit later in the season. Right now, I wouldn't put too much credence in this map. I expect this to increase at least hopefully closer to average by this time next month. But for now, the soil moisture anomalies are pretty low for the area. If that continues, if it does stay low, when we do have green up in a month, I expect we'll see stream flows fall off pretty quick, and that's what we're going to have to be concerned for drought conditions if we don't start improving our precipitation, because our soil moisture is quite low right now. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the drought severity index. We always show that. The state wants to see it, but it's not, to me, terribly useful right now. Groundwater, it's increased significantly since we've had the snow melt, some of the rain. All of our wells that we have across the area have started to bump up, some of them dramatically, some not so much. If you look at the map, the northeast and north central portions of the state are still what they would consider to be, I guess you'd call it emergency levels, very low levels, but that will be picking up as the snow melts and the stream flows rise here in the next couple weeks. So I expect to see those wells turn. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a lot more red across our southern half of the state, and those have increased significantly with some of the groundwater. But again, we want to see the precipitation start falling. That will help that as we head into the green up and into the summer months. Reservoirs are all, for the most part, pretty close to average. They have plenty of storage space. Not worried about high reservoir levels this spring. So that's a negative for flooding. Any of the West Branch and several of our other river systems have some flood control reservoirs that will help out to handle any heavy rain events. They have plenty of room right now. So if we did get a significant rain or an early tropical storm, we have pretty decent storage levels. When I say early, I'm talking about June-ish, heading into the late spring. So future weather is what I'll talk about. We have some showers, maybe some rumble of thunder this afternoon, turn into some snow showers across the higher terrain later tonight. And then a pretty cold day on tap for Friday and Saturday. Actually a pretty nice weekend. I'll show you we have some real dry air coming across the state that's going to be moving in with this high pressure in the weekend. So we'll see streams, water levels start to level out and begin to fall. But for the next 72 hours, we'll see our rivers and streams will be rising, but no flood concerns. This doesn't look like a flood issue right now. Here's a quick 7-day rainfall forecast. This is a briefing I give to state. They like to see kind of what we're expecting over the next 7 days. Really, most of the rain falls in the next 24 hours, I should say. Across the heaviest rain being with that band of showers, we'll be looking at maybe an inch across our New York border. areas, Bradford area maybe the next 24 hours, lesser amounts over the rest of the state. 8 to 14 day outlook, again, calls for temperatures to a better chance of below average temperatures. And there is some good news. There is an outlook they show possibly going back, having some wet weather in the extended. So let's hope that verifies. And 30-day outlook, below average for temperatures, equal chances on precipitation. And it looks like they have a better chance of the southern tier being wet, or the southern half of the U.S. being going towards the wet. And likewise on the 90-day, we're equal chances, so it's not too much you can get from that. As I said, for the next 72 hours, no flooding is expected. This is the hydrograph out Wilkes-Barre on the Susquehanna River. You'll see it's been slowly receding all week. With the rainfall, we're going to see, I believe it's going up. It's going up from about 5 to maybe 11 to 12 feet. So it's a good 7-foot rise on the river coming through Wilkes-Barre this weekend. Likewise, at Williamsport, we're going up not quite as big of a rise, but it's going to be touching their action stage probably by into the Saturday time frame from the rain that we're seeing. And,
Can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
What is a typical error in a river forecast like that, in a situation like this, which is crazy?
It can be several feet. If you were to look at yesterday's forecast, the rise at Wilkes-Barre was probably about 2 or 3 feet higher.
Okay.
So it's come down quite a bit, and now the question is, does it even get to their action stage levels? I mean, the forecast has gone down since it hasn't got as warm up there, and the rain isn't going to be as heavy as maybe they had in the model yesterday. But the air can be, river forecasting is still really, it still has a long ways to go, and so there's a lot of work going into it at the river centers and across the, with the National Weather Service and other agencies. But yeah, the air can be very large depending on how the rainfall forecasts work out.
Well, what if the rainfall forecast was perfect? Is there any sense of how much air there would still be in there?
Depends on the location and how well calibrated the location is.
Okay.
So there's different hydrology models and hydraulic models that get used, and some locations are better than others. Further downstream, so say you get a big rain event in the headwaters of the Susquehanna, and we're tracking a flood wave moving downstream from Wilkes-Barre. By the time it gets to Harrisburg, we should have a pretty good idea what it's going to do. Those are actually laws of physics, kind of like meteorological models that you can actually physically model that. It's the headwater basins that gets really tricky, and so the closer you are to a headwater, the tougher the forecasts generally are. So hope that makes sense. I would characterize things as average. I mean, we haven't had a lot of recent precipitation, but we have a snowpack up at the headwaters. If we get our 2 to 3 inch rainfall event, we'll probably see some minor flood issues. If it doesn't pan out this spring, we probably aren't going to see much at all. Pretty typical for spring right now. I would not say that we are sitting on a loaded gun above average. Flooding is certain this spring. It's probably just an average spring around here. We'll have to see how much rain falls and how things play out in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And just throw that out there. So let's quickly look at the weather here and see what we're expecting. Oops, I think let's try this. No, not this one. So yeah, so here's our radar. We had actually some thunderstorms. I'm not sure if it was this cell over here, but I believe we had some graupel and maybe some small hail cover the ground up in Ulysses, PA. I believe that's Potter County, but so they actually had some thunder. That was a little further north than maybe we were thinking earlier, but the SPC outlook, well, let's go straight to it right now. You'll see the day one outlook has general thunder for our area with a better chance of storms south and towards the coast later today. But for the most part, just general thunder. Maybe we'll see here our first rumble of thunder as this moves through here a little bit later. Speaking of what might happen, let's look at the latest HRRR, and we'll go to the PA run, and hopefully this will load. Not, we'll go to Rich's page. Our server might not be too fast. Let's go look at Rich's page here real quick. So I believe we go to SREF, and we will choose. Can we choose her there? No. I've made my own page. I'm so used to. Here we go. Here's the her. So let's take a look and go to the PA scale. I don't know how much you've been using it, but we've been using this quite a bit lately. It's been pretty useful for us just to get an idea of what we're expecting. So you'll see these the band of showers appears to decrease as it moves through, but once it gets past State College, you'll see that there's some evidence of a broken line, but some more convection forming, and the HER has been showing this line of convection getting itself going across eastern PA. This is going to be more towards afternoon drive, early evening, 7 o'clock right there. So this is not the strongest line we're going to see this spring, that's for sure. But there is, as this front pushes through, we expect some showers and thunderstorms to form, and this is just the HER's rendition of what it thinks might happen. Then you'll see a secondary, probably more with the cold front coming through a little bit later today as that pushes through. And then possibly some snow showers starting to form later on in the HER. Now, temperatures, if you get a chance to go out today before the showers move in, this is the day to do it because it is really starting to feel nice out there. You can actually feel a little humidity in the air, so that's the first time it's starting to feel maybe a little muggy. And look at some of these 70-plus temperatures across the Mason-Dixon line down there, but I think we're in the low 50s right now, so we may make a run to 60 here, close to 60 before the front goes through. And as we look further out, you'll see here's the temperature starting to fall back into the 40s later today as some of the cooler air with the beginnings of the cold front come through. So that's the forecast for today. Showers, maybe rumble of thunder through here, and I'll quickly take a look at looking ahead into the weekend. One thing that I noticed earlier, and if you go to Rich's page and if you go to the NWS situational awareness display, if you put on, I'll put on the Jeff's return intervals, the latest GEFS. You'll see that we have certainly some PWs that are bear watching. Precipitable waters. Actually, I'm in the wrong. I'm like, this doesn't look right. I'm in the western U.S. Let's go to the northeast where we live. Let's see. Let's try this again. I think we've talked about this before in previous briefings. This is a good place to look to see if you're looking at any anomalous weather. It still says western. Well, I don't know why things are not loading up. Oh, I know why. You got to do western twice, northeast twice. There we go. There we are. So if you look out by Saturday, the thing that I noticed the most is we got some real dry PWs coming through. So if you look Saturday afternoon, you'll see out to our west some very dry air. We have quite a dry air mass that will be settling in over us. So after this goes through, on this front goes through Thursday, Friday, we have some pretty cold air followed by nice high pressure with real dry air. Even if you go look on Sunday morning, it's centered right on top of Pennsylvania. We have some pretty low 30-year type low PWs. I think Sunday could be one of those days we don't even see cirrus clouds. Pretty rare around here. So that's something that sticks out at me as far as anomalous weather. But for the most part, just looking at this, there's really nothing in the extended that is anomalous at all. Looks pretty quiet for the most part. And let's look at the Jeff's. Here, and we haven't got anything out of the 6Z yet, or the 12Z, but the 6Z. If you look at the U.S., I'll show you why it looks so quiet next week. Let's go to the 500 heights, and we'll kind of. I'll try to. Can't get this. No. Just look at the top, and we'll kind of try to. I'll show you as we get closer. So if you look by this weekend, we have a full latitude trough over the eastern U.S. There is a pretty strong ridge over the west, not nearly as strong as it's been earlier this season, but here we are by the weekend. Cool and dry air over us. So we're on the backside of the trough. And as we go out in time, it looks like a pretty quiet stretch of weather. Notice that the trough lifts out. We have a couple short waves in the flow that we'll have to keep an eye on, but for the most part, We still have our high heights over the west. The eastern trough is sort of flattened out, and when that pattern happens, we expect zonal flow to kind of take over, and that's what it does. We're looking out here, a pretty zonal flow, weak west-northwest flow for us. Not a lot going on in the big picture now. Could there be some small short waves that trigger some weather? That's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, but for the most part, no major, just weak westerly flow. We know when we get in this pattern here across Pennsylvania, generally quiet weather. But the good news is it's going to be much milder too. We're not going to be stuck in a strong northerly or northwest flow with one shot of cold air after the next. So next week actually looks possibly that we might see some more spring than we've seen. Let's go look at the last thing I'll do is we'll just look at the plumes. So for State College, the latest HRRR run. Again, it shows the heavy showers coming through this afternoon. Again, just a couple tenths of an inch of rain with it. It's just going to be a quick hitter. But you'll notice it does get cool, and maybe a few snow showers on the back end that could come through here, probably north of here, and then much drier. If you look at our temperatures, the plot, like I said, if you want to see some mild temperatures, get out there now, because tomorrow we'll probably stay close to 40, and even Saturday right now looks quite chilly. Doesn't warm up at all on Saturday according to the HRRR plot. So pretty cool weekend on store, especially the first half. If you look at the 60 Jeffs for State College, again, here's our showers. Model's in pretty good agreement that we're getting a low rainfall band of showers through here, and then very quiet weather. Then you start to see a bunch of noise with some possible short waves in the westerly flow next week. Timing them, if anybody can time them, and I wouldn't believe them, because there's going to be some weak short waves coming through. But a few of the runs actually show some stronger systems. So a few of the models of the ensemble system. So there's always something to watch here in Pennsylvania. We'll have to keep an eye next week on the weather. It will be but it's pretty hard to predict at this point. But after this cold air comes through with the high pressure this weekend, we start to see temperatures slowly work through the 40s for highs, and maybe some highs in the 50s, and maybe even a 60, and we even have a couple runs that show us getting into the near 70. It wouldn't go that crazy yet, but next week looks pretty dry. Maybe a day or two with a few weak systems to watch, but much better weather on the extended. So, any questions?
Question. On the upper plot, what are the gray lines that go across the bottom?
At the bottom, this is precipitation intensity.
Okay.
So when you see it this noisy, look how it's really noisy. So the models have, all the different ensembles have their own idea of when the system.
We just weren't sure what it was.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just, so when I see this, like right here, you see how they're very clustered. This tells me there's, with that westerly flow we have, there's going to be a couple systems in the works next week. I don't know when they are, but but on the whole, pretty nice weather. So that's the value of using an ensemble over. I'm speaking for Rich Grum here, but when you use one run, if you're going to go look at next week, if today's 12Z GFS, you're going to sit there and think, oh, it's going to rain Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night. You're probably going to be wrong, because that's just one run. And the ensembles tell you that if you're trying to forecast rain next week, you're going to have trouble right now pinpointing when it's going to occur. So, any other questions or comments? Yes.
So do you coordinate with the managers of reservoirs and, let's say, hydroelectric dams to control when to do releases? So that
when it gets to that point, yeah, we can. The River Forecast Center, they will speak with the Corps of Engineers and whoever, and Pennsylvania DEP and whoever else is running dams. During Lee and during other big flood events, certainly the communication is just critical, because they need our forecast and we need theirs, and you just work real close together with other entities. So yeah, good question.
Any other questions? Great, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Next week, Dan DePodman will be here. He works at AccuWeather and graduated from our department in 2012 or 2011, I believe. So that will be a good talk too. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks. That's great.
No,
it was great. I liked the beginning too.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, well, I'll try to swing by the other.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Thanks for doing this. You're welcome.
It does.
Take care.
Charles, how are you? Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
That was good.
anytime. I'm gonna swing back. We have visitors over
Oh,
there.
okay. Well, thanks for coming over.
56 up there right now.
Well, 56.
There we go.
Have we had 60 yet this month? We
No,
haven't,
the
have
hot
we?
warmest this year is
I think we got a chance before this goes through.
in the last 60 was November 22nd.
Finally, yeah, walk back. Oh, yeah. The water's right there. Yeah, why did I drive?
See you later.
Talk to you later.
Charles, right? Japanese.
Probably. And it was like a good weather.
Yeah.
Like, it was, yeah.
So, like,